She foreclosed on a farmer's 40 acres over a $6 late fee, and a 1978 law she never read handed a quiet 11-year-old girl a $2.7 million problem she'd been building toward for 15 years. Patricia Sorel had been a lawyer for 19 years. She did not panic. Until today, she was parked outside a gas station at 7:14 on a Tuesday morning, still in her work clothes from the night before, holding her phone against her ear like it had bitten her. The man on the other end was the county clerk. He was explaining, again, that Meridian Agricultural Holdings had broken ground on a $2.7 million infrastructure project 4 months ago. Access road, drainage corridor, fiber line, all of it running through a 40-acre parcel in Dellard County that Meridian had foreclosed on under a 1983 mineral rights attachment. The late fee on that attachment was $6, and a federal law passed in 1978, one Patricia had never once looked up, said you could not foreclose on agricultural land over a disputed fee below $47. Not in this state, not under any set of circumstances. The foreclosure was void. The project was frozen. The land still belonged to someone else. Patricia said. Who? The clerk said. A woman named Nora Vess. Title goes back to 1991. Patricia stared at the gas station sign. It flickered once. She said, "How old is she?" The clerk checked. He came back. He said, 26. Title transferred when she was 11. Patricia closed her eyes. 15 years earlier, Dellard County ran its Thursday auctions under a corrugated tin roof with folding tables and a coffee pot nobody ever cleaned. The chairs were mismatched. The ceiling fan worked on its lowest setting only. About 30 people showed up when they felt like it, and fewer when they didn't. On a Thursday in August 1991, there were maybe 22. Harlan Brock was easy to spot. He was the loudest man in the room, 58 years old, red-faced, vice president of Dellard First Federal Bank, and a man who had never in his life been wrong about anything, at least not according to Harlan Brock. He stood near the coffee pot with 2 men from his office, talking about a land deal in the next county, laughing at something one of them said. The county official up front read parcel numbers into the heat. Parcel 44-09-117, 40 acres on the eastern edge of the Sorel Flats. Hard clay soil. No road access. No water line. Mineral rights had been stripped off in a 1983 restructuring. The parcel had sat on the county's tax rolls for 2 years, earning nothing, and costing the bank a small annual fee to maintain. No bids. 3 times in 2 years, no bids. Harlan glanced over at a gray-haired man standing near the back. Eldon Vess. Eldon had farmed 40 miles east of here for 30 years and was known in Dellard for being careful with money and slow to speak. Next to Eldon was a girl, 11 years old, dark hair pulled back, spiral notebook in one hand, a stubby pencil in the other. She was writing something. She had not looked up once. Harlan grinned. He walked over to Eldon and said, loud enough for the room, "Tell you what, old man, sign that parcel over to your girl there. Give her something to do. Been sitting dead for 2 years anyway." 2 men laughed. A woman by the door smiled without meaning to, and then looked away. Eldon looked at the girl. The girl looked at the parcel number on the official sheet. She said, "Okay." Her name was Nora. Harlan signed the transfer paperwork at the folding table. He used the bank officer's signature he'd used 1,000 times. Fast, looping, confident. The county official looked at the form, looked at the girl, looked at Harlan. Harlan waved a hand. Process it. The official stamped the deed at 2:47 p.m. Nora took the receipt. She folded it twice. She put it in the front pocket of her coat. Harlan went back to the coffee pot. He forgot about her before he reached it. Eldon walked to the truck without a word. Nora climbed in the passenger side. The truck smelled like diesel and old upholstery, and the faint chemical smell of the herbicide Eldon used on his back fence line. He pulled onto the county road and drove. After a while he said, "That man just gave you 40 acres of nothing." Nora had the notebook open on her lap. She was reading something she had written earlier. She said, "Not nothing." Eldon glanced over. She held up the notebook. There were 2 lines written in pencil, small and neat. Eldon slowed the truck to read them. He squinted. He read them again. He didn't say anything. They drove the rest of the way home in silence. The fan belt in the old truck ticked every 3rd rotation. The road flattened out south of the flats, and Nora looked out her window at the low scrub and hard clay and dead grass at the edge of parcel 44-09-1117. She looked at it the way you look at something that already belongs to you. She closed the notebook. She put her hand over the coat pocket with the folded receipt inside. She was 11 years old, and she was the only person in Dillard County who knew what that land was actually worth. Before this gets any wilder, hit subscribe, because what Nora does next is something no developer, no banker, and no lawyer in Dillard County ever saw coming. 47 pages into the Dillard County Plat Record, Volume 12, there was a road that did not exist. Nora found it on a Saturday morning in October 1991, 6 weeks after the auction. She was sitting at a reading table in the back of the Dillard Public Library with a stack of gray-bound volumes she had asked the librarian to pull from the reference room. The librarian had looked at her twice, once when she asked for them, and once when she saw how many, but she had pulled them without comment. The volumes smelled like basement. The pages were stiff at the edges. Nora worked through them the way she worked through everything, slowly, in order. Page 1, then page 2. No skipping. On page 47 of Volume 12, dated March 1956, the Dillard County Roads Commission had approved an extension of Farm Road 9, half a mile east, a full right-of-way, 24 feet wide, surveyed and platted, running 2,640 feet across the Sorel Flats corridor. The stakes had been set, the survey was on file, the road was, legally, approved. Then the county ran short of federal matching funds. The extension was shelved, but it was never dissolved. The resolution canceling the right-of-way should have been filed within 180 days. Nora checked Volume 14. She checked Volume 15. She checked the index for every Roads Commission filing between 1956 and 1972. The cancellation did not exist. The right-of-way was still on the books. Alive, legal, sitting 24 feet wide across the northeast corner of parcel 44-09-117, her parcel, waiting for someone to notice. She wrote the page number, the commission date, and the right-of-way dimensions in her notebook. She drew a small box to represent the parcel. She drew a line across the northeast corner. She looked at it for a long time. Then she wrote, "Never canceled." She returned the volumes to the desk, thanked the librarian, and walked home in the November cold. She was 12 by then. Her birthday had come and gone quietly. At the kitchen table that same evening, Nora unfolded a county road map and laid it flat next to the notebook page. The kettle on the stove was just starting to hiss. Her grandmother Fay moved around the kitchen behind her. Nora drew the right-of-way in pencil on the road map. She measured the distance with her thumb and a ruler. The right-of-way ran directly adjacent to the northeast corner of her land. A knock at the back door brought her grandfather Eldon in from the cold. He sat down across from her. He looked at the map. He looked at the notebook. He said, "What is that line?" She said, "A road." He said, "There's no road there." She said, "Not yet." The kettle began to boil. Fay turned it off. No one spoke for a moment. Eldon said, "What are you thinking, Nora?" She tapped the notebook. She said, "Someone's going to need this corner someday." Eldon folded his hands on the table. He did not push further. He understood, in the slow way Eldon understood most things, that she had already worked it out. He just didn't know all the steps yet. Through the winter and into the spring of 1992, Nora went back to the library every Saturday. She pulled the mineral rights records next. The 1983 restructuring that Harlan Brock's bank had used to strip the mineral rights off parcel 44-09-117 had been filed on September 14th of that year. The legal description in the filing referenced Township 7, Section 19. Nora checked the original parcel deed. The parcel sat in Section 18, one section off, filed wrong. Under Dillard County's 1971 recording ordinance, a mineral rights transfer with a defective legal description did not fully attach. The rights had never properly separated from the land. They existed in a gray zone, not clearly Nora's, not clearly the bank's, that nobody had ever looked at because nobody had ever cared about 40 acres of hard clay with no road access. She filed a quiet title affidavit at the county clerk's office on a Tuesday afternoon in March 1992. She was still 12. The filing fee was $12. She paid from a jar she kept on her desk. The clerk stamped it without looking at her. Nora walked home. She opened the notebook to a new page and wrote, "Filed." March 1992. Now we wait. The waiting was not empty. Over the next 3 years, she drove past the flats every few weeks, not to do anything. Just to look. She watched the scrub stay the same. She watched the clay crack in summer and go gray in winter. She watched trucks from the county roads office park on the western shoulder twice in 1993 and take readings with equipment she didn't recognize. She wrote the dates down. She wrote the truck plate numbers. In 1994, she found a regional infrastructure planning report at the library, published in 1989 by the State Transportation Authority. Page 14 contained a corridor study for Dillard County. It identified the Sorel Flats corridor as the lowest cost route for a future utility and access road expansion between two growing townships. The report was 5 years old. Nobody had acted on it yet, but somebody would. Nora took the notebook home. She sat at the kitchen table with the county road map and the plat record copies and the corridor study. She placed the right-of-way line on the map. She placed the parcel boundary next to it. She placed the corridor study's proposed route on top. They matched within 40 feet. Any utility corridor running the Sorel Flats route would need the northeast corner of parcel 44-09-117 to connect to Farm Road 9. There was no other way through. She sat with that for a while. Outside, the wind moved through the scrub behind the house. A truck went by on the county road, slow. She closed the notebook. The trap was already set. She just had to wait for someone to walk into it. $312. That was the offer. Said out loud on her front porch on a Tuesday in 1994. Not for the whole parcel, for a 24-foot wide strip across the northeast corner. The man saying it was young, maybe 27, with a pressed shirt and clean boots, and the kind of smile that had probably worked on a lot of people before. He introduced himself as an agent for a gravel operation looking at the eastern corridor. He had a clipboard. He said the number like it was a favor. Nora stood in the doorway. She said, "No thank you." He shifted the clipboard to his other arm. He said, "It's fair market for undeveloped corridor land." She said, "I know." He waited. She said, "No." He left a business card on the railing. She let it sit there until the wind took it. She mowed the strip twice a year, spring and fall. It took 40 minutes with the push mower she kept in the shed. The clay soil made the ground hard in summer and soft in the wrong way in late fall. She kept the corners clear. She kept the survey markers visible. She paid the annual county tax bill, $44, same as it had always been, every April, on time, by check. The strip looked like nothing. That was the point. In 1997, a man called on a Thursday evening. He said he was a county commissioner's aide and that Dillard County was revisiting the Farm Road 9 corridor. They were calling it the Sorel Corridor Infrastructure Study now, and they had funding to acquire easements along the route. He said the county was prepared to offer $31,000 for a permanent right-of-way across the northeast corner of her parcel. Nora had the phone against her shoulder. She was looking at the notebook on the kitchen table. She said, "I'll consider it." She did not call back. The aide called twice more over the following months. She listened both times. She thanked him both times. She said no both times. Her husband, Declan, heard the second call from the hallway. Afterward, he sat down at the kitchen table across from her. He was a quiet man. He did not ask a lot of questions. He asked one now. He said, "How long?" She said, "Until they need it more than I do." Declan looked at the table. He looked at the hand-drawn map she still kept under the edge of the notebook. He nodded once. That was the last time he asked. Their daughter, Clara, was 12 in 1999. She found the notebook on the kitchen table one afternoon after school and opened it before Nora came in from outside. She had gotten to the third page when Nora sat down across from her. Clara looked up. She said, "What's the line on the map?" Nora said, "A road that was never finished." Clara looked back at the notebook. She said, "Why does it matter?" Nora said, "Because someone still needs to finish it." Clara closed the notebook and slid it back. She didn't ask anything else. She went to her room and did her homework. Nora watched her go. She filed the moment away the way she filed everything, quietly. The third offer came in 2003, on Meridian Agricultural Holdings letterhead. Registered in Delaware, Nora had seen their name in 3 county filings over the previous 14 months. They were buying corridor land in pieces, 280 acres total, moving west to east across the Sorel flats in a pattern she had mapped in the notebook in September 2002. The letter addressed her as current owner, parcel 44-09-117. The offer was $410,000. Cash. 45-day close. Declan read the letter at the kitchen table without speaking. He set it down. He looked at her. She put it in the notebook. He said, "That's a lot of money." She said, "For them, it's nothing." He thought about that. He went back to his coffee. In a boardroom 40 miles north, sometime in the fall of 2003, Meridian's project manager had a problem drawn on a whiteboard. 280 acres acquired. Corridor mapped. Infrastructure timeline set. Permits applied for. One parcel blocking the northeast connection to Farm Road 9. 40 acres. Clay soil. No road. No water. Market value, negligible. The project manager called the attorney. He said, "Make her an offer she won't refuse." The attorney called Nora that December. He was smooth and unhurried, and very sure of himself. He offered $680,000. He said, "Miss Vess, I want to be direct. Our project cannot proceed efficiently without your parcel. We'd like to make this right." She said, "I appreciate that." He said, "Is there a number that works?" She said, "No." He said, "I'm sorry?" She said, "No." She hung up. By 2004, Meridian had stopped calling. Nora watched the county records. Meridian's permits advanced. Their survey flags appeared on the western end of the Sorel Flats in late spring. She drove past on a Sunday and counted 16 flags along the southern edge, moving east. They were building toward her. She drove home. She made coffee. She opened the notebook and wrote the date and the number of flags and their positions. Then she turned to the front page. The 2 lines she'd written at 11, on the ride home from the auction, sitting next to Eldon. She read them. She closed the notebook. On a quiet morning in February 2005, the phone rang. She looked at the screen. Meridian Agricultural Holdings. Not the attorney this time, the main number. She set her coffee cup down. She picked up the phone. She did not answer it yet. She held it in her hand and waited for the third ring. The voice on the line said, "Ms. Vess, we'd like to offer $1.1 million, final offer, as is, no conditions." Nora set the phone on the kitchen table without hanging up. She let it sit there for 4 seconds. She could hear the attorney breathing. She picked it back up and said, "I'll call you Thursday." She hung up before he finished his sentence. Clara arrived that Saturday morning with a truck, a banker's box, and a calm that Nora recognized immediately because it was her own. Clara was a property attorney now. 24 years old, 3 years into a firm 40 miles north, and the kind of lawyer who read old records the way Nora had once read old plat books. Slowly, in order, she spread the permit file across the kitchen table next to the original deed, the 1992 quiet title affidavit, and Nora's notebook. She read without speaking. The kettle was on. Declan was in the other room. After 20 minutes, Clara looked up. She said, "They broke ground last month." Nora said, "I know." Clara looked at the permit file. She said, "On a project that runs through land they foreclosed on." Nora said, "Over a $6 late fee." Clara looked at the federal statute Nora had copied by hand from the county law library in 2003, the 1978 Agricultural Credit Act, Regulation Z, Section 4C. She read it twice. She said, "They never check this." Nora said, "Nobody checks what they think they already own." Clara closed the statute. She picked up her phone. She called the number on Meridian's letterhead, not the attorney, the main number, and when someone answered, she gave her name, her bar number, and 2 sentences. She said, "My client owns parcel 44-09-117 under a valid 1991 title transfer and a recorded 1992 quiet title affidavit. Your foreclosure is void under federal statute, and your ground break last month occurred on land your company does not legally control." She hung up. Declan came to the kitchen doorway. He looked at the table. He looked at Nora. He did not say anything. The kettle was ready. He turned to make the tea. Meridian's legal team filed the abandonment claim 3 weeks later. Their argument was narrow but deliberate. The original 1991 transfer had defects. The land had effectively sat unused, and the 1992 quiet title affidavit had been filed by a minor without proper legal standing. The hearing was held in Room 3 of the Dillard County Courthouse on a Thursday morning in April 2005. Clara placed 3 documents on the table. The first was the original deed, notarized at 2:47 p.m. on August 8, 1991, signed by Harlan Brock in his capacity as bank officer, transferring the parcel as a gift. No purchase price, no conditions, Harlan's own signature, broad and looping. The second was the 1992 quiet title affidavit, stamped and filed, resolving the mineral rights defect under Dillard County's 1971 ordinance. On the books for 13 years, uncontested. The third was a printed record of 63 consecutive years of county property tax filings on parcel 44-09-117, paid every year, on time, first by Eldon Vess, then by Nora Vess, beginning in 1992, at $44 per year. An abandoned parcel doesn't get taxed. A taxed parcel doesn't get abandoned. Clara said, "The county itself billed this land every April for 63 years. They can't now claim it was sitting dormant." The judge looked at the 3 documents. He looked at Meridian's attorney. He ruled in under 90 seconds. Meridian's attorney reached for his phone before he had finished standing up. The negotiation lasted 11 days. Nora refused a lump sum on the second day when Meridian's attorney offered $2.2 million in a single payment. She listened to the full offer. She thanked him. She said, "That's not what I want." He said, "Ms. Vess, that's a significant..." She said, "I know what it is." She slid a handwritten page across the table. A permanent easement, the 24-foot corridor across the northeast corner of parcel 44-09-117, the same strip that the 1956 Farm Road 9 extension had already platted, the same strip that had never been legally dissolved, granted to Meridian for infrastructure use. In exchange for $4,200 per month, indexed to inflation, payable to Nora Vess and her heirs, transferable, in perpetuity. The attorney pushed back twice. He said the monthly structure was unworkable. He said the inflation indexing was unusual. He said perpetuity was a word no company liked. Nora said, "I've had the land since I was 11. I can wait." He went away. He came back the next day. He said, "Every term." He said it quietly. The way you say something you don't want anyone else in the room to remember. Clara called Nora that evening. Nora picked up. Clara said, "They accepted." Nora said, "Thank you, baby." She hung up. She sat at the kitchen table. Declan came in from the back porch, still in his work jacket. She said, "It's done." He nodded. He turned to the stove. He put the kettle on. The signing happened at the county clerk's office on a Wednesday afternoon in May 2005. 3 copies, 2 attorneys, 1 clerk who stamped everything without looking up. Nora walked to her truck alone. She sat for a moment. The street outside was empty. A dog was barking somewhere on the next block. She opened the glove compartment. She took out the notebook. The first one. The one she had carried from the auction 14 years earlier. The cover worn soft at the corners. She opened it to the last blank page. She wrote, "Easement recorded, 4409-117, $4,200 per month. Permanent. Terms accepted." She closed the notebook. In the weeks after, the Dillard County Courier ran a short item about a corridor easement agreement between a local landowner and Meridian Agricultural Holdings. It did not use the word victory. It did not name a dollar figure. Harlan Brock, retired, read the item at his kitchen table in the morning. He did not comment. He set the paper down and finished his coffee. He did not remember the girl. He did not remember the laugh. He did not remember the deed he signed at a folding table as a joke in August 1991. The people at that auction who had laughed, 2 of them saw the item. Neither said anything out loud. That was its own kind of answer. Some men collect confidence. Nora Vess collected patience, and Meridian Agricultural Holdings paid her $4,200 a month for the rest of her life to learn the difference. If Harlan Brock had kept that deed, he'd have controlled a $2.7 million corridor. Instead, he signed it away to an 11-year-old girl as a joke. Would you have taken the $2.2 million lump sum or held out for the monthly deal? Drop your answer below. And if you've seen someone outplay a room by saying nothing, share this. Someone out there needs to hear it.